This is Northern Light for Thursday, July 23rd. Good morning. I'm Catherine Wheeler. Food insecurity is rising sharply across the region. Since June, changes to SNAP have left many families without the benefits they rely on.
There are higher costs of food, higher costs of utilities, higher costs of transportation, just a little bit of a perfect storm. So our food pantries are just seeing this unprecedented demand at this point.
Also on the show, video games can be a parent's nightmare or a child's escape. We'll go to a shop in Ticonderoga where they're creating a safe space for the community.
It's really important to help fuel people's creativity, especially with having like phones and tablets and everything. It restricts people's creativity a lot more.
And we'll have a conversation about an upcoming conference in Potsdam that's starting the conversation about fire risk in the North Country. All that's coming up on Northern Light. Stick with us. Northern Light is supported by Cronin's Golf Resort, a regional destination for golf, dining, and lodging in the Southern Adirondacks. Details at croninsgolfresort.com. And the Glenn and Carol Pearsall Adirondack Foundation, now accepting grant applications from Adirondack not-for-profits until August 31st. Details at pearsallfoundation.org. This is Northern Light. I'm Catherine Wheeler. Food insecurity is leaving many North Country families in a pinch. Since June, changes to SNAP, the federal food assistance program, is expected to cut tens of thousands of people from their benefits. Food banks and social service providers are working to provide a safety net. In the first of a two-part series on food pantries in the North Country, Richard Haller visits one in Watertown, where the need has sharply increased.
A man is rolling a shopping cart stocked with food. His wife holds their 2-month-old daughter.
I'm active duty military. My wife and I just had a baby. We're on a single income, which is mine. And we've been having a hard time with just keeping up with the food on top of all the other bills.
That's Donato Negro. He's based at Fort Drum. He says they've been struggling with high electric bills and the cost of heating in the winter. This is their first time getting help from Urban Mission in Watertown, the biggest food pantry in Jefferson County.
We just need like staples, you know, like some flour, sugar, eggs, milk, stuff like that, butter, you know, the basics, basically bread.
The place feels more like an Aldi's or discount grocery store than your typical food pantry.
So we've kind of, We've kind of made it like a grocery store. We want people to feel more comfortable coming in.
Shelves are stocked with canned goods, fruits and vegetables, and there's plenty of refrigeration. Hillary Collins, the receptionist, shows me around the spacious, air-conditioned room.
We used to do boxes next door, but now we encourage everybody to bring their own bags, so it feels more of like a market experience.
Across the country, people have been struggling with the cost of basic living expenses like groceries and gas and utilities. Collins says they've seen a significant uptick in families coming for help who didn't have to before.
Definitely probably by 20 or 30%. People that are losing their food stamps or they have to work now for their benefits. And we've had an uptick in volunteers as well.
The Trump administration's so-called One Big Beautiful Bill Act cut SNAP, previously known as food stamps, by more than $200 billion over the next decade. Since June, more people need to work to keep their SNAP benefits, including unhoused people. The regional food bank, based in Albany, provides a large network of food pantries, soup kitchens, and other nonprofits with a steady supply of food assistance across 20 counties. including much of the North Country region. Sue Littner is the vice president. She says food demand has increased by 14% across all of these counties over the last year.
There are higher costs of food, higher costs of utilities, higher costs of transportation, and so many individuals in our service area are losing access to benefits like SNAP assistance at this point that it's just a little bit of a perfect storm. So our food pantries are just seeing this unprecedented demand at this point.
Littner says the regional food bank is expecting 60,000 people to lose their SNAP benefits in their service area. The SNAP cuts are expected to affect all New Yorkers. The federal government is passing down some costs to states. New York taxpayers could pay $160 million more. Littner says counties will also have to pay a share of that cost.
And that's really the next step in why this is so frightening. Our counties really don't have the funds to close this equation and pay for these benefits that had previously been paid for at the federal level.
Urban Mission's Director of Client Services, Amy Klemgaard, says they've seen 600 more families coming for help in the last year.
And people are having to choose between eating and paying their electricity bill so it doesn't get shut off. So we're seeing a lot more people who are working families who just can't afford groceries and electricity and gas coming in to get some help with food.
Okay, so what do you got for us?
I got like 5 or 6 boxes.
Oh, wow.
Urban Mission in Watertown is more than a food pantry. It's a whole nonprofit facility. Homeless people are hanging out inside to escape the heat, and volunteers are getting in their hours for SNAP work requirements. In the basement, there's a huge storage area. A shipping truck backs up in front of the sliding doors. Doug Getman is the maintenance truck driver who delivers food and anything else. He says he feels lucky that he gets to help people with his job.
That's one of the best feelings, is when somebody stumbles in and needs something and we actually have what they need so we can help them.
Joe Johnson helps manage the place. He gives me a big smile when saying why he does what he does.
It makes them happy and it makes us smile when we see them happy. It's the best feeling in the world when you know you're helping somebody and they say thank you.
Yeah, especially in this world, because that's pretty rough out there right now, so.
They both agreed that more people need help right now, whether that's getting some clothes, a place to stay, or a meal for the day. Sue Littner from the Regional Food Bank says that food pantries are a lifeline for people. She says if they didn't exist, entire families would be going without food on the table. Richard Haller, North Country Public Radio, Watertown.
A Hamilton County fire chief died in the line of duty Monday. According to the Pasico Volunteer Fire Department, 65-year-old Steve Werla died while responding to a call. Werla used to live in Westchester County, where he served in the Elmsford Volunteer Fire Department and worked as a police officer for decades. He moved to Pasico in 2019 and joined the fire crew there despite ongoing health issues stemming from his 9/11 response. He was appointed chief in 2024. Werla is survived by his wife, 2 daughters, and 2 granddaughters. Calling hours and a funeral service will take place next week. This is NCPR. You're listening to Northern Light only here on North Country Public Radio. It's just about 10 after 8. Good morning. I'm Catherine Wheeler. Stick around. We'll have a conversation about how community groups are getting together to study wildfire risk in the Adirondacks. That's coming up in just a few minutes here on Northern Light. But first, music from the Best Boys out of Richmond, Vermont. Northern Light is supported by CCOM Credit Union, home of the Mula Mula Kids account and Spin the Wave, helping children get started saving. Details at ccom.org/NCUA. And Zach Hoyt Banjos, etc. in Piercefield, offering handcrafted custom banjos, guitars, fiddles, and mandolins. More at hoytbanjos.com. And summer in the North Country is a lot of things. It's swimming at Postwood Beach, hiking Mount Arab. It's sitting by the fire in the sun as it goes down over the Port Kent campground. And summer in the North Country just wouldn't be the same without NCPR. For almost 60 years, this station has offered a connection to the North Country and the world and beyond. That connection continues even after last year's federal funding cuts to public media. NCPR is now supported almost entirely by the people who use it. So whether you value the station as a year-round resident or a summer visitor, you can help NCPR by making a donation now at ncpr.org/give. And thank you. We all play pretend when we're younger, and we can only hope our childhood dreams become our adult realities. Today, we're going to meet a 22-year-old who used to pretend to sell video games out of his bedroom as a young boy. He no longer has to pretend. Kainat Beg brings this North Country at Work story from Ticonderoga.
Walking into That's Rad, I am greeted by Riley Dinsmore, the game store's 22-year-old owner. The sounds of Pac-Man's adventures and 90s cartoons are circling the room. Dinsmore shows me around. Stacks of trading cards, flashing LED lights, and beloved characters are plastered across the walls.
I gotta get some of the lights replaced in here. They've been going out.
The sounds of nostalgia are too loud for an interview, so we find a space in his dad's car. Dinsmore begins telling me what it's like to own his very own entertainment store.
I get to do what I love.
At a young age, Dinsmore was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. He was granted a wish through the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
So my wish was to have a retro-style, like, arcade hangout area, kind of like something out of the 90s, that would have, like, arcades, toys, that kind of stuff.
Dinsmore lived on the outskirts of town, but still wanted people to enjoy his games. 3 years ago, he decided to open up his own store.
So I wanted to open it up and have it somewhere where I could share it with the rest of the community, have people come by, experience the old arcade games, and play games that they normally wouldn't have the access to.
During Dinsmore's medical treatments, many community members supported him. That same community came together to help him achieve his dream.
They did a great job spreading the word when I was first opening up. They really helped support it as well because they knew how much this meant to me, and it had been something that I'd been trying to achieve for a long time.
Dinsmore's main goal with the space is to bring people together, from arranging holiday movie nights to game nights.
Friday to play cards for our Friday night card nights, and we're always having new crowds of people come in. You know, we kind of treat it as a safe space for everybody around where people can come in, hang out, play games, just have fun.
Dinsmore stocks the store with more than just his retro arcade games. From trading cards to comics to guitars, Dinsmore's always looking for new things to sell or figuring out how to fix his arcade machines himself.
I still have to learn new stuff every single day, especially with such a variety of items that come through, being anything entertainment related. And I'm always moving things around, changing things up inside the store so it's fresh and feeling new no matter when you come back, whether you're a frequent visitor or come back once a year. It's always going to be different for you.
Dinsmore says he didn't expect how important this space would be for kids.
You know, I treat them like my own kids. They're great. Some of them come from rougher homes, and I try to be that, like, person that they can come to and feel comfortable to talk to and hang out with. It's really important that they get out and they have this safe space, and I'm happy that I can help do that for them.
But this space doesn't just welcome young people.
So, despite it seeming like a toy store where, like, it just be lots of kids coming in, we do get a little bit of everybody.
The online video game industry is worth billions of dollars, but it's not the focus here. Dinsmore wants to keep retro gaming alive. People can come in and play Mortal Kombat or browse the rows of superhero comics. Customers don't just leave with a game or collectible, they leave with an experience that you can no longer get online.
It's really important to help fuel people's creativity, especially with having, like, phones and tablets and everything. It restricts people's creativity a lot more.
Being a fan of entertainment can be an expensive hobby. From Pokemon cards to Star Wars Lego sets, it can get costly. Dinsmore makes sure to keep his store accessible.
There's a lot of times I have younger kids who come in and they don't necessarily have the cash to be buying any of the more expensive stuff that they want for their collections. I always try to make sure that they end up leaving happy and with something cool to help start up their collections.
Dinsmore has been able to turn his love for games into his career. He loves living in Ticonderoga and wants to do this for as long as he can.
It's just truly mind-blowing to me that I've made it as far as I have and actually got to achieve my dream, especially at such a young age.
He says it proves that when you put your mind to something, anything is possible. For North Country Public Radio's North Country at Work project, I'm Kainat Beg in Ticonderoga.
This story was recorded at a public collection event in Ticonderoga, and it's part of North Country at Work's Next Generation project, which highlights stories from the region's young workers. If you have a story in mind, we want to hear it. Just text the word NEXT to 315-978-6277. You can also email us at work@ncpr.org. And throughout this summer, NCPR's North Country at Work team pops up in local communities to hear firsthand what it's like to make a living in the North Country. Today, they're heading to the Southern Adirondacks at the Town of Horicon Museum this afternoon from 3 to 6 to hear more work stories. If you're in the area, stop by and tell your story. To find out more about this event or to check out the collection of stories and photos we've gathered so far, you can visit ncpr.org/work or email work@ncpr.org. A wildfire that started on Sawteeth Mountain in the Adirondack High Peaks last week has been contained, but it isn't fully out yet. A spokesperson with the Department of Environmental Conservation said as of yesterday, the fire was still smoldering underground. Forest rangers continue to patrol the area. According to the Adirondack Daily Enterprise, the blaze near the Marble Point Lookout was first reported on the afternoon of Monday, July 13th. Rangers had most of it contained within a couple days. No cause has been identified and no one has been injured. The Enterprise reports there are no trail closures at this time. A Watertown woman is facing vehicular assault and drunk driving charges after the pedestrian she allegedly hit with her vehicle died from her injuries. According to WWNY-TV, 21-year-old Sky Elise Everson was driving a Subaru Crosstrek west on Coffeen Street just after 8 p.m. last Thursday. That's when the vehicle allegedly hit 65-year-old Patricia Curtis of Wellesley Island, who was in the crosswalk. Curtis was flown to SUNY Upstate Hospital in Syracuse. She later died from her injuries. Everson was charged with felony vehicular assault and misdemeanor driving while intoxicated. She was also ticketed for failing to stop at a red light and failing to yield to the right-of-way to someone in the crosswalk. Everson is due back in court next month. Watertown police are continuing to investigate the crash. And organizations in the North Country are partnering with the state to expand access to free swimming lessons for children ages 12 and under. North Country Community College, the Watertown Family YMCA, and Plattsburgh YMCA are part of the New York Swims Initiative. According to a press release from Governor Kathy Hochul's office, the initiative was launched 2 years ago, quote, to make swimming lessons more accessible and improve water safety across New York. Residents are encouraged to contact their local participating YMCA to learn more about eligibility requirements and lesson start dates. This is NCPR. You're listening to Northern Light only here on North Country Public Radio. It's 8:19. Good morning. I'm Catherine Wheeler. In just a minute, we'll hear a conversation about fire risk in the Adirondacks. And after that, Bird Note is coming up at 8:42. First, let's take a quick look at the weather. Should be a pretty beautiful few days here in the North Country. Today, sunny skies and highs in the mid-70s. It's going to be a bit warmer around Plattsburgh, though, with highs in the low 80s. Tonight, clear skies. Should be able to see the stars and the waxing gibbous moon at 70% of full. Lows tonight dropping into the upper 40s and mid 50s. And tomorrow, sunny once again, but a little warmer this time, highs in the upper 70s and mid 80s. Tonight, sunset in Briar Hills at 8:38. And at last check, it's 57 right now in Akwesasne, 58 in Alexandria Bay and the beautiful Thousand Islands, 53 in Fowler, 55 in Louville, 51 in Long Lake, 62 in Mariah, 52 in Lake Clear, 55 in Jay, and 58 in Peru. Over the past few weeks, smoke from Canadian wildfires has led to hazy skies and poor air quality across the Northeast and in the North Country. And as we heard earlier on the show, forest rangers have contained a small fire on an Adirondack High Peak more than a week after it was first reported. Wildfires are having a more direct impact in our lives. Next week, 7 universities from across the North Country are bringing people together to talk about wildfire risk in a changing climate. The Adirondack Fire Future Symposium is being held at Clarkson University over 3 days, starting on Monday, July 27th. Diane Husick is the executive director of St. Lawrence University Center for the Environment, and she's one of the organizers. I spoke with her about why this is happening now.
Most people don't think of fire in the Adirondacks. It's a type of forest that doesn't likely burn. It's got a lot of water. Most of the hikers think about mud. But historically, there were some pretty significant fires, the turn of the century, early 1900s, often caused by timber practices, and then the combination of that and then locomotives that were coal-fired. So you'd get a spark and things would go crazy. And most people nowadays, if they think about it, they think of all the fire towers. But really, there hasn't been for over 100 years any kind of significant fire.
You're part of organizing this conference about fire in the Adirondacks. How did you get to that point of this is something we need to talk about as a community?
So there's a lot of changes going on in the area. Some have to do with climate change. There's changing demographics and development. So you have more wild places up against, I'll say urban in quotations, but community development. You've got a lot of insect and disease problems with trees that are leading to die off. The ash borer, emerald ash borer is one of the big ones. And so you've got all these conditions that are changing the forest and then changing the risk.
Tell me a little bit more about the risk in the Adirondacks. You mentioned some of the causes, but what does that kind of look like now into the next couple of decades?
Yeah, that's the part we're really trying to figure out. What have kind of fire suppression, years of not managing for fire, so not having major fires, these changes that I mentioned due to insects and disease and development, changes in weather patterns. What we really don't know is how all of those pieces are going to come together to create risk. And so I think one of the reasons that we want to bring people together, because this is a really interdisciplinary field, is what do we need to study? What are the gaps in our understanding? But also, what are the gaps in terms of our education for the public and for our preparedness? So I think those are all the pieces that we're really interested in learning more about.
Yeah. I guess it's kind of how do you start thinking about this thing we haven't had to consider? What kinds of groups are you trying to bring in to be a part of this conversation?
Obviously scientists, but also practitioners. So forest rangers, people from the Department of Environmental Conservation, community planners. We've got a lot of people that have been involved with the Acorn Project, people that would most likely have to be the first responders. So whether those are firefighters, city planners, things like that, and really getting everybody talking together.
Yeah, I think it's something important to think about in terms of climate change. The things that we've expected for decades aren't necessarily the same anymore. Is that something that you're trying to spread awareness of in the greater public too, of how our environments are changing and how we need to adapt and figure out how to mitigate?
Climate is a big piece of it. And what most people think about is, boy, we're having a lot more rain. But often that comes in these really heavy storms. So you'll get heavy flooding, which a couple summers ago, we had a lot of that. But then you might have these long drought periods. Or if there's less snowfall, you don't have as much snowpack and melt in the spring. So there's a number of climate-related conditions that are important. But even the increase in insect disease, you're not getting the die-off that you would have normally had. Woolly adelgid that hits the hemlocks is a good example of that. So all of these factors are linked to climate change. And what we need to do is think about, what do we know? climate change models aren't going to tell us when a fire is going to happen. They're not going to say, okay, on this day in this location, but they're going to talk about the increased risk. And so how do we prepare for that? How do we best understand it? But also countering what do we need, those kind of immediate needs of local communities, which sometimes seem to be more prominent than thinking about something 2 or 3 decades down the road. And one of the things I've been thinking about a lot is, how do we talk to, for instance, fire companies that are volunteers, often aging, and really worried about how are they going to fill their ranks, or they need a new truck or whatever? How do we help those immediate needs, but also link that to being prepared for the future? And so I think that getting the community to think about what we do now to better plan and enhance our capacity will also be good, not only for now, but for our long-term resilience.
I think while we're not, seeing these fires on our doorsteps right now, we are seeing the impact from fires in other parts of the country. It's been really smoky. A couple of summers ago, it was really smoky. Is that something that we're also considering of how we adapt and handle the effects of fires in other communities and countries?
Right. And I think air quality is probably the thing that catches people's attention, because you not only are feeling a little scratch in your throat or having a little bit of hoarseness, but people can see the difference. You can see the air looking murky. It just smells funny. And those are huge public health issues that affect us now. And so people start to think, oh, maybe there is something real here we have to worry about. So I think not only being aware, what do those numbers, when they say, oh, you have an AQI of, what does that really mean? Should you stay indoors? Should you take protective event measures? Should our medical personnel be trained, because they're probably going to see more respiratory issues? But also, those fires, we think about it being out west, but they're also getting closer. I mean, a lot of these are basically north of the Great Lakes right now, in Canada, in Ontario, and so they're not that far away. But I think public health and thinking about policies, I was talking to somebody the other day. I said, what do you do with your workers on days when you have really bad air quality that have to be outside or are supposed to be outside? Do you have a policy that they don't work outside? And most places don't. They kind of make a decision on the fly.
So let's say people can't attend this conference. It's not something that can fit in their schedule this time. What are some ways you think that people could listen to this conversation and then go think about fire risk in their own home or in their own community?
What I would love to see is a series of community focus groups and gatherings to talk about what we learned from this conference, what we've been learning, leading up to it, and just having more conversations in the communities. So we can do things like bring it to town supervisors and say, hey, maybe we should have a forum about this, and local, whether it's environmental groups or health groups and things like that. So I think this is just one step, but I think ultimately what we need to do is take kind of the talking points and translate that to the public and different audiences, whether it's a health issue, whether it's a emergency and hazard preparedness issue, and think about ways to do that. So many people that come up to the North Country, either because they live there for their whole lives or they've come there as transplants, like you and I, really love the forests. And all about this is, it's really, how do we protect our forests that are changing, but also how do we keep our communities safe? Because ultimately the risk to humans is the ultimate factor here.
That was Diane Husick. She's the executive director of St. Lawrence University Center for the Environment. She's one of the organizers of the Adirondack Fire Futures Symposium. It's kicking off on Monday, July 27th at Clarkson University in Potsdam. The 3-day conference is free and open to the public. Find out more about how to register on our website, ncpr.org, later this morning. That's it for the show today. Stick around for news headlines from NPR coming up next. I'm Catherine Wheeler. Be well.